My parents secretly opened several accounts in my name and used the money to buy my younger sister a luxury car. When I refused to begin making the payments, they accused me of being selfish and insisted the arrangement was only temporary. What they did not know was that I had already frozen my credit, collected every document I could find, and allowed the financial institutions to investigate them. Hello, Reddit. My name is Ryan, and for most of my life, being the responsible child meant cleaning up problems I had never created. But when my parents quietly attached thousands of dollars of debt to my name, they crossed a line that could have destroyed my future. What happened when the luxury car driven by my sister was repossessed in front of our entire family finally exposed everything. I was 29 years old and worked as an information technology project manager for a regional healthcare company. I earned enough to pay my bills, contribute to retirement, and save money every month. For 3 years, I had worked toward one goal, buying a modest 2-bedroom house with a small yard, a garage, and room for an office. I had saved nearly $38,000 for the down payment and closing costs. I tracked every expense, brought lunch from home, and kept driving the paid-off Honda Accord I had owned since college. My parents knew about the house, the savings, and the importance of my credit. My parents, Charles and Diane, described our family as close. In practice, closeness usually meant that I solved problems for everyone else. My younger sister, Megan, was 24 and worked as a receptionist at a cosmetic dental office. Since high school, she had moved from photography to event planning, real estate, and social media work. My parents bought her a camera that cost almost $3,000, then paid for real estate classes, professional clothes, and headshots. She failed the licensing exam twice and abandoned the plan. When I changed my college major once, my father lectured me for 40 minutes about commitment. Megan was allowed to explore. I was expected to be certain, disciplined, and available whenever she needed help. I tried not to resent her when we were younger, but as an adult, she learned to use the difference between us. When Megan was 19, she took my car without permission while I was away for work, backed into a concrete post, and caused $1,400 in damage. My father said she barely earned anything and told me not to create a family crisis. I paid the repair bill. Megan promised $50 a month and made one payment. 2 years later, she borrowed $2,500 for a dental assistant program and dropped out after 3 weeks. Most of the tuition was non-refundable, and my mother told me I should be proud that I had given Megan a chance. That was how money worked in my family. Once I paid for something, the expense became noble and repayment became cruel. When I began saving for a house, I stopped lending Megan money and stopped defending every refusal. Then Megan arrived with the Mercedes. She drove it to a Sunday dinner 7 months before my mortgage meeting, honking until everyone came outside. My mother said, "Go look." My father followed me outside and asked, "Well, what do you think?" I looked at the car, then at Megan. "You bought this." Megan said, "I bought it. Technically, we worked something out." My mother said Megan needed something dependable for work. I said my Honda was dependable, while the Mercedes looked as if it had rules about where it could be parked. "How much?" My father answered before she could. "Do not interrogate her. Just be happy for your sister." "I am not interrogating anyone. I am asking what the car cost." Megan waved her hand. "The payment is manageable." I later found the listing. The sale price was $48,900. Taxes, dealer fees, and an added warranty brought the total to $52,870. The dealership credited almost $8,000 for the old car owned by Megan, leaving an original financed balance of $44,870. Megan earned around $34,000 a year. She was still living with my parents and had complained the previous month that she could not afford a medical bill of $600. I assumed my parents had co-signed. It was reckless, but I believed it was their decision, not mine. In early April, I contacted a mortgage advisor named Elena Ramirez after a coworker recommended her. During our first phone call, she asked about my income, savings, employment history, and debts. I told her I had one credit card that I paid in full each month, a small remaining student loan balance, and no car payment. Elena said, "Your position should be strong. I will run the preliminary report, verify the figures, and tell you what price range makes sense." 2 days later, we met through a video call. Elena did not begin with congratulations. She looked at the screen for a moment, then said, "Ryan, before we discuss mortgage options, I need to ask you about several accounts. What accounts? She shared part of the report. There was a personal loan for $18,500 opened 7 months earlier. There were 2 credit cards I did not recognize. One carried $6,300 and the other carried a little more than $2,000. Then she pointed to an auto loan. The auto loan had begun at $44,870. After 7 months of payments, the balance was still above $41,000. For several seconds, I assumed she had pulled a file belonging to someone else. I said, I do not have an auto loan. My car has been paid off for 4 years. Elena looked back at the report. The account is under your name and social security number. That is not possible. Do you recognize the lender? I did not. Do you recognize the date it was opened? I looked again. The auto loan had opened 2 days before Megan arrived with the Mercedes. I stared at the number without speaking. Elena noticed. Ryan, my sister bought a car around that time. What kind? A Mercedes. She leaned slightly closer to the screen. Is there any chance you co-signed for her? No. Did you give your parents or sister permission to apply using your information? No. Have you ever given them copies of your identification? That answer was different. My parents had copies of almost everything. My father had handled my taxes when I was younger. He had my social security number, old pay records, previous addresses, and copies of my driving license. My mother had helped me replace a passport. Together, they had enough information to impersonate me. Elena stopped discussing mortgage rates. Elena said the accounts made my debt-to-income ratio too high for a mortgage. More important, she said that if I had not opened them, I was dealing with identity theft. I wanted to reject the phrase. Identity theft sounded like something committed by strangers in another state, not by the people who hosted Sunday dinner. There could be a mistake, I said. There could be, Elena replied. But you should treat it seriously until you know that. She explained the first steps carefully. I needed complete reports from all 3 credit bureaus. I needed to freeze my credit so no additional accounts could be opened. I needed to contact the fraud department of each lender. If the accounts were unauthorized, I would likely need to submit identity theft affidavits and a police report. I wrote everything down. Before ending the call, Elena warned me not to accept responsibility, make a courtesy payment, or sign anything, because one payment or signature could complicate every dispute. That last warning stayed with me. I spent the afternoon pulling complete reports from all 3 credit bureaus. The more I found, the worse it became. The personal loan used the address of my parents. One credit card used an email address almost identical to mine, except for a missing period. The recovery number ended with the same 4 digits as the phone number of my mother. The auto lender had my name as the primary borrower. Megan was listed as co-applicant and authorized driver. The monthly payment was $892. The payments came from a checking account opened in my name at a bank I had never used. Deposits into that account came from the personal loan and several cash deposits. My parents had not merely used my name once. They had built an entire financial arrangement around it. The personal loan had funded insurance, registration, dealer costs, and several early car payments. The credit cards covered insurance, registration, maintenance, and other expenses. The checking account connected everything. It was organized. That was the part one could not stop thinking about. This was not a desperate decision made in an hour. Someone had gathered my documents, created a false email account, submitted applications, and signed agreements. Then my parents had discussed my house plans with me as if none of it existed. I froze my credit that evening. The next morning, I called the auto lender. The representative transferred me to the fraud department after I said I did not recognize the account. A woman named Teresa asked me a long series of questions. Teresa asked whether I had visited the dealership. No. She asked whether I had signed anything electronically. No. She asked whether I knew Megan. I said, yes, she is my sister. Teresa paused. Was she authorized by you to purchase or use the vehicle? No. Did you verbally agree to act as the primary borrower? No. Did you make any of the payments? No. Teresa opened a fraud investigation and requested identification, a written statement, and an official identity theft report. I contacted the other lenders. By the end of the day, I had 4 lender case numbers, 1 bank case number, and proof that my mortgage was no longer the biggest problem. I did not call my parents immediately. That surprised even me. The older version of me would have driven to their house, demanded explanations, and allowed the conversation to become an argument. Instead of confronting my family, I followed the advice from Elena and built an evidence file. I gathered documents. I changed passwords. I opened a new email account used only for the investigation. I saved every letter and downloaded every statement. Then I requested copies of the original applications. The personal loan file arrived first. The personal loan application said the money was for home improvements. It listed the address of my parents as my residence. It overstated my annual income by almost $20,000. The electronic signature contained my full legal name. The phone number belonged to my father. The email address was the fake version of mine. The lender also included a copy of my driving license. It was an old copy, but it was clear enough to approve the loan. The credit card applications contained similar information. The auto loan documents were the most disturbing. The dealership described the sale as a family purchase and claimed I was unavailable because of work, but had completed the paperwork online. One document contained an electronic signature. Another listed Megan as the person taking delivery of the vehicle. The contact email was fake. The phone number belonged to my father. The insurance policy was in the name of Megan. I printed everything. I waited until the next Sunday dinner before asking my family about the financing. I did not reveal the investigation. I wanted to hear what they admitted before they knew what I had collected. Megan arrived late, carrying a shopping bag and complaining about the price of tires. Megan sat down and said, "Do you know how much Mercedes tires cost? It is insulting." "You could sell the Mercedes," I said. "Why would I do that?" "Because you complain about the cost every week." "That does not mean I do not love it." My mother placed dinner on the table and told us not to argue. Halfway through the meal, I asked, "Who financed your car?" Megan stopped chewing. My father continued cutting his food. My mother looked at him first, then at me. Megan asked, "Why?" "I am curious." "You were not curious when I bought it." "I was." Nobody answered. My father put down his knife. "We helped her arrange financing." "With whose credit?" His expression changed slightly. "What kind of question is that?" "A simple one." My mother folded her hands. My mother said, "Ryan, if this is about your credit report, we were planning to speak to you." That sentence confirmed everything. Megan looked between us. "What credit report?" I ignored her. "You were planning to speak to me after opening accounts in my name." My father leaned back. My father said, "Do not use dramatic language. We used your information to help Megan qualify. It was temporary." I said, "You opened an auto loan, a personal loan, 2 credit cards, and a checking account in my name." Megan turned toward our parents. "2 credit cards." My mother answered quickly. "They were only used for car-related expenses." "That does not make them mine," I said. My father spoke more firmly. My father said, "You have excellent credit." Megan did not qualify, and the dealer rate was temporary. We planned to move the loan later. "How do you transfer a loan opened through fraud?" My mother repeated, "Fraud. Ryan, we are your parents. That is not a legal defense." My father turned red. "Nobody stole anything from you. You used my identity without asking." He said, "We knew you would overreact, so we handled it ourselves." I almost laughed. Their explanation for hiding it was that I might object to them committing it. Megan pushed her chair back slightly. "Wait, you told me Ryan agreed to co-sign." My mother looked at her. "We said he would help. You said he had already agreed." My father cut in. My father said the details did not matter because the payments had been made and I had not lost any money. I said my credit report showed nearly $68,000 in debt that I had never approved. "It is not really your debt," my mother said. "It is attached to my name. Only temporarily." I asked the question that mattered most. "Who is supposed to make the next payment?" Nobody answered immediately. Then my father said, "The personal loan funds are nearly gone. So we need to discuss a short-term arrangement." There it was. They had used debt in my name to pay other debt in my name. Now the borrowed money was nearly gone, and they expected me to take over. "How short-term?" My mother said, 6 months. My father said, possibly 8. Megan looked at them. "You told me you were paying for the car." "We are," my mother replied. "With a loan under his name." "It is not his money," my father snapped. "It is a loan." "In his name," Megan said. I watched her carefully. She seemed surprised by the credit cards and personal loan. But she had known my name was connected to the car. I asked Megan why she never called me to confirm that I had agreed. She looked away. "Mom and Dad said you had. You had my phone number." She said, "I thought you were trying to be nice for once." "I will not make a single payment," I said. My mother stared at me. "Ryan, the payment is due next week. Then one of you should pay it." Megan said, We cannot cover $892 every month. I said that was a reason not to buy a car costing almost $53,000 after taxes and fees. Her face tightened. You do not have to say it like that. How should I say it? My father struck the table with his palm. That is enough. Your sister needs reliable transportation for work. I reminded him that Megan worked about 12 minutes from their house. My father said, the car is already purchased. You can afford the payment. I am applying for a mortgage. You can delay buying a house. My mother reached toward me. It would only be until we refinance. I said they had already had 7 months to refinance it. We are working on it. No, you were spending the loan money and waiting for me to discover the debt. My father shook his head. You are making your family sound like criminals. I am describing what you did. Megan crossed her arms. So you are really going to let them take my car? I did not buy your car. You are the primary borrower. The credit cards. We will pay them down. With what money? My father stood. My father said, you are obsessed with details. Family should matter more than a credit score. My future matters too. You have a good job, he said. You are single. You have no children. Megan is trying to build a life. So am I. You can wait. I looked at my mother. She did not challenge him. My mother said, please do not be selfish about this. I said, I am not paying. Then I left. The messages began before I reached my apartment. My mother wrote, calm down. Your father should not have raised his voice, but you need to understand the pressure we are under. Megan wrote, I cannot believe you will ruin my life because you suddenly decided you need a house. My father wrote, the payment is due Friday. Act like an adult and handle it. I saved screenshots of all three. I did not respond. The next morning, I met Elena in her office. Elena said the false email, false address, and wrong phone number proved this was not a misunderstanding. I showed her the messages. She said the messages showed that my family knew I was being pushed to pay an unauthorized debt. She told me not to threaten, negotiate, or sign anything. She also recommended that I speak with an attorney experienced in identity theft and consumer credit disputes. I made an appointment. The attorney, Daniel Cho, reviewed everything and asked whether I was prepared to file an official police report. Daniel said, reporting does not let you choose the final legal outcome. It gives the lenders the formal record they need. You must decide whether protecting your family from consequences matters more than protecting yourself from what they did. I filed the report. Megan has to drive to work. She can buy a car she can afford. She cannot qualify right now. Then she can use the car she had before. They had traded in the paid-off car Megan already owned. The trade-in credit was almost $8,000. I said, she gave up an affordable car for one she could not qualify for or pay for, and you used my identity to make it possible. We were trying to help her move forward. By pushing me backward. Why does everything have to be a competition with you? I have nothing else to say. Ryan, please. Your sister is crying every day. She can return the car. She loves that car. I love the house I was trying to buy. A house is a long-term goal. This is an immediate crisis. I ended the call. The payment failed that Friday because the checking account they had created in my name no longer contained enough borrowed money. My credit freeze did not cause the failure and could not have stopped a valid payment. The following Monday, my father sent me a document through email. The document was titled Temporary Authorization Agreement. The document stated that I had knowingly agreed to assist Megan with financing and accepted responsibility for the auto loan until it could be refinanced. It also claimed that I had verbally authorized my parents to use my information. At the bottom was a blank signature line. My father wrote, sign this so we can correct the records held by the lender. It protects everyone, including you. I forwarded it to Daniel and the fraud investigator from the lender. Daniel replied within 10 minutes, do not sign. Do not edit. Do not respond. The auto lender contacted me later that week. The investigator asked whether I had received any documents from my family requesting confirmation. I told her yes. She asked me to send the original email with the full header information. I sent it that day. After that, my father stopped demanding payment and began sending messages about reconciliation. My mother said they wanted a calm meeting and a solution that would not damage the family. Then Megan sent the message that removed any doubt about how much she knew. Megan wrote, Mom and Dad should have asked before putting the car in your name, but you knew they were helping me. You never objected until now. I replied, I did not know the car was in my name. Do not contact me about the loan again. She answered, you saw the car. Obviously, someone had to qualify for it. The mortgage process stopped completely. Elena explained that no lender would approve me while the disputed debt remained unresolved. The house I planned to bid on went to another buyer before the disputed debt could be removed. The family debt had made me too risky to finance at the moment I was ready to buy. When I learned that the seller had accepted another offer, I called my mother. I said I lost the house. Ryan, I am sorry. Are you? We never wanted that. You knew I was applying for a mortgage. We thought you had more time. You thought I could delay my life. That is not fair. No, it is not. I do not know how this became so ugly. You opened accounts in my name. We were trying to help your sister. Then you should have used your own credit. We could not qualify, and that should have been the end of it. We thought you would understand. You did not ask because you knew I would say no. She did not deny it. After that call, I stopped speaking to my parents and Megan. The auto lender sent formal default notices to the address used on the application. After 30 days, the loan was formally delinquent. Because I had disputed ownership, the lender restricted account access and demanded verification from the people who possessed the car. My parents apparently tried to submit the authorization document without my signature. They also tried to refinance the Mercedes into the name of Megan. My father applied with her. The failed refinancing applications exposed more debt. My parents had refinanced their house twice, carried large card balances, and still owed money on the sport utility vehicle driven by my mother. 2 months after I found the accounts, Aunt Denise called. She said, "Your mother says you were trying to have the car taken away." I reported loans open in my name. She did not mention that. Aunt Denise asked me to explain. I gave her the basic facts without sending documents. When I finished, she said, "They used your social security number." Yes. And signed your name. Yes. Without asking. Yes. Denise said, "Ryan, that is not borrowing. That is identity theft." Apparently, I am selfish for noticing. You are not selfish. She also told me that Megan would have an engagement party in 3 weeks. Her boyfriend, Tyler, had proposed during a weekend trip. My parents were hosting the celebration at their house. Most of the extended family would be there. Denise said my parents were telling relatives that I refused to pay because I resented Megan becoming engaged before me. Of course they are. I thought you should know. Are you coming to the party? I was not invited. Denise said, "Your mother thinks you will appear, apologize, and restore peace." 1 week before the party, the auto investigator said the evidence supported my claim that I had never authorized the loan. The lender removed me from collection contact while the dispute continued. She added, "The account is in default, and the people possessing the vehicle have not made satisfactory arrangements. Are you repossessing it? I cannot provide details about recovery activity." 2 days before the party, Denise said my mother wanted me there so the family could put everything behind us. Did she invite me herself? I said, "She wants an audience for a reconciliation, not a conversation. I am still asking you to come." Why? Denise said the family had heard that I abandoned a loan I had signed, and my absence would make the lie easier to believe. Will Megan want me there? No, Denise said honestly. But your mother will. The engagement party began at 4 in the afternoon on Saturday. When I arrived, cars lined both sides of the street. The Mercedes stood at the top of the driveway with white ribbons on the mirrors and a sign in the windshield that read, "Future Mrs. Carter." My mother opened the front door before I reached it. For half a second, she looked relieved. Then she remembered she was supposed to be hurt. My mother said, "You came. Aunt Denise invited me. I would have invited you if you answered my calls. You know why I stopped answering. This is not the time." I agree. She let me enter without mentioning the investigation. The party was already crowded. Relatives stood in groups holding drinks and small plates of food. The parents of Tyler were there. Several of her friends had gathered around her, taking pictures of the ring. My father saw me and crossed the room. His jaw tightened. He walked over and spoke quietly. He said, "Do not create a scene." I was not planning to. This day is about your sister. Most days are. He frowned. Can you go one afternoon without making a bitter comment? I have been here less than a minute. Megan pulled Tyler toward the kitchen. I heard her say, "I cannot believe Denise invited him." Aunt Denise appeared beside me. "I am glad you came. I am not sure anyone else is. They will survive." A cousin mentioned a disagreement over the Mercedes. I told him only that the financing was being investigated. My mother soon called everyone outside for a toast. Megan and Tyler stood beside the Mercedes while my father praised her as determined, generous, and responsible. Then a large recovery truck turned onto the street. At first, nobody paid attention. It passed the parked cars, and stopped directly in front of the driveway. My mother said, "You cannot take a car during a family celebration." The agent replied that the borrower could contact the lender. Megan looked at my parents. "Dad." My father moved closer to the man. "Show me the paperwork." The recovery agent held out a document, but did not hand it over. My father read it. His face changed. My father said, "This account is under dispute." "Yes, sir." "Then you cannot repossess it." The agent said, "It is also in default. We are working with the lender." The agent said they would need to contact the lender. By then, everyone had stopped talking. Her friends stood near the front door. The parents of Tyler exchanged a look. Several relatives moved closer. Megan pointed at me and said, "This is because of him." Heads turned. I stayed where I was. Tyler looked at her. "What do you mean?" Megan walked toward me. Megan said, "You did this today on purpose." "I did not schedule anything. You knew they were coming." "I knew the account was unpaid." Her voice rose. She said, "The payment failed because you froze everything." I said, "I froze my credit. I did not empty the account or block a payment." "It is the same thing." "No, it is not." My mother hurried over. My mother said, "Ryan, call the lender and say there has been a misunderstanding." "There has not been a misunderstanding." Tyler looked between us. "What is going on?" Megan answered before anyone could stop her. Megan said, "The loan is in the name of Ryan, and he suddenly decided not to make the payments." Aunt Denise spoke from behind me. "Did he agree to put it in his name?" Megan opened her mouth, then stopped. My father stepped in. "This is a private family financial arrangement." The father of Tyler asked why I was responsible for the car. "He is not," I said. My mother gave me a warning look. "Ryan." I said my family had told everyone I abandoned a loan I willingly signed, and that story was false. My father moved closer. "You said you were not going to create a scene." "I am answering a question." The recovery agents began preparing the Mercedes. One of them photographed the vehicle. The other checked the doors. Megan rushed toward them. Megan said, "You cannot take it. My purse is inside." The agent told her to remove her personal property and step away. "This is insane." She unlocked the doors and emptied bags, shoes, clothes, and papers onto the driveway. My mother turned to me. My mother asked, "Are you happy now?" "No." She said, "You humiliated your sister in front of everyone." I did not buy a car using an identity belonging to someone else. My father finally lost control. My father shouted, "We were going to pay it back." Several relatives reacted at once. Aunt Denise asked, "Pay what back?" My father realized too late what he had shouted. Tyler stared at him. "You opened the loan." My mother began speaking quickly. My mother said it had been temporary because my credit was stronger and Megan needed transportation. Tyler asked, "Did Ryan sign for it?" Nobody answered. He looked at me. "Did you?" "No." Megan came back carrying the contents of her glove compartment. Megan said, "You did not have to report it as fraud. You could have given us time. I found out because I was applying for a mortgage. You were still talking about the house." I said the car had added more than $40,000 to my credit report and had cost me the house I was ready to buy. Tyler turned toward her. "You knew he did not sign." She looked at him. "Not at first." Tyler asked, "What changed later?" Mom said he agreed. "And later?" Her eyes filled with tears. I knew there was confusion. That is not an answer. My father pointed at me. "Do not let him turn you against her. Ryan has always resented how close we are to Megan." I looked at the relatives standing around us. I told the family that my parents had opened a personal loan, 2 credit cards, a checking account, and an auto loan in my name without permission. My mother covered her face. "You promised you would not destroy this family." "I never made that promise." "You filed a police report against your own parents." "You used my identity." The voice of my father became cold. "Do you understand what could happen to us?" "Yes." "And you do not care." "I cared enough to ask you to fix it. You asked me to make the payments and sign a document claiming I had authorized everything." Aunt Denise looked at my father. "You asked him to lie." "It was not a lie," he said. "He knew we were helping Megan. I knew she had a car. I did not know you had made me responsible for it." The recovery agent closed the Mercedes door. Megan moved in front of the vehicle. "No, I am not letting you take it." The agent did not argue. "Madam, interfering with recovery will not stop the order. Please step away from the vehicle." Tyler touched her arm. "Megan, move." She pulled away. "You are supposed to support me. I am trying to stop this from getting worse." "It is already worse." The Mercedes was loaded while our entire family watched. The white ribbons remained tied to the mirrors. The future Mrs. Carter sign was still visible through the windshield. As the truck left, Megan stood among her belongings and relatives who finally understood that the car had never truly belonged to her. She said, "I will never forgive you." I said, "You do not have to." Then I left. The aftermath began that evening. My phone filled with messages. Some relatives apologized for believing my parents. Others admitted my parents were wrong, but asked me to withdraw the fraud claims to protect them from legal consequences. A few said family problems should remain private, although I had not arranged the public repossession. Tyler sent one message: "I did not know. I am sorry." I did not respond immediately. 2 days later, Tyler called. He said Megan had suspected for months that I had never agreed. She had asked my parents why I never mentioned the car payments. My mother had warned her that asking me directly might make me change my mind. Megan accepted that explanation because asking me could have cost her the car. Tyler said, "She may not have planned it, but she chose not to ask." That sounds accurate. He said the engagement was on hold until he knew whether Megan could accept responsibility when responsibility cost her something. I wished him well and stayed out of it. The investigations continued for another 4 months. The personal loan company removed the account after confirming the false address and contact details. Both credit card companies removed their accounts soon after, and the bank closed the unauthorized checking account. The auto lender took longer because Megan claimed I had given verbal permission. The documents, messages, and location records supported my version. Eventually, the lender confirmed that I was not responsible for the remaining balance and ordered the account removed from every report. My credit did not recover immediately. The correction was not instant. Each bureau updated on a different schedule, hard inquiries remained under review, and my mortgage score changed several times before the false balances disappeared completely. Elena checked in every few weeks. Elena said, "You are doing everything correctly. The reporting systems are simply slow." Slow was better than paying $892 every month for a car I had never approved. My parents hired an attorney. For a while, they stopped contacting me directly. My mother later mailed a 6-page letter. She wrote that she was sorry I felt betrayed. She explained that they had been under financial pressure. She said the old car driven by Megan had become unreliable, although nobody had mentioned that before trading it in. She said they chose my name because I was the only person in the family with enough credit to qualify. She insisted they had always intended to make the payments. Not once did she write, "We had no right to do it." She apologized for the damage and pressure, but never wrote that she had no right to use my identity. I did not answer. My father sent a shorter letter. My father wrote that I had turned a manageable family arrangement into a legal and financial disaster. He said their reputation had been damaged. He said some relatives no longer trusted them. He said they might have to sell the house. He ended with, "I hope owning a home was worth losing your family." I read that sentence several times. I placed both letters in the investigation file. My parents eventually sold their house, although the fraud case was only one reason. The truth was that they had been living beyond their means for years. Legal fees, card balances, repeated refinancing, and the loss on the Mercedes ended the image they had maintained for years. They moved into a smaller townhouse about 40 minutes away. My mother told relatives I had forced them out of the family home. Aunt Denise corrected that story whenever she heard it. Megan moved in with a friend and later financed a used Toyota Corolla after saving her own down payment. For the first time, she had a car payment attached to her own name. Tyler ended the engagement 3 months after the repossession. Denise said he had asked Megan to explain what she had done wrong. Megan described only the embarrassment of watching the Mercedes leave in front of everyone. She did not mention my stolen identity, damaged credit, or lost house. That answer gave him what he needed. 6 months after the last false account disappeared, Elena called. She said, "I think we are ready to try again." I had continued saving during the investigation, and the money I once feared would disappear into the car payments remained in my account. My credit had recovered enough to qualify. The interest rate was slightly higher than it might have been before the fraud, but the payment fit my budget. I started looking at houses again. The process felt different the second time. I was less excited and more cautious. Every document reminded me of how easily my plans had almost been destroyed. I found a small blue house at the end of a quiet street. It had 2 bedrooms, a narrow kitchen, an old garage, and a yard that needed work. The carpet was ugly and the bathroom tile was old, but the structure was solid and the price was right. I made an offer. It was accepted. When I received the keys, Elena met me there with a plant and a card. She said, "You earned this twice." I understood what she meant. I had earned it once by saving the money. I earned it again by refusing to let my family spend my future. Aunt Denise, two co-workers, and my friend Marcus helped me move and paint. That evening, I ate pizza in the kitchen because the plates were still packed. There were no marble counters, no panoramic roof, no designer keychain. It was not a luxury house. It was quiet, affordable, and purchased with my money and my restored credit. My mother sent one final message after hearing that I had moved. My mother wrote, "Congratulations on the house. I hope you understand someday that we were only helping your sister." I answered for the first time in months. I replied, "Helping means giving something that belongs to you. You gave Megan my name, my credit, and my future." That was not help. She did not respond. I now have limited contact with my parents. I do not visit for holidays. I do not discuss money with them. They no longer have access to my identification, financial records, account details, or spare keys. Megan and I have not spoken since the repossession. Maybe that will change someday, but an apology would have to begin with honesty, and she is not there yet. For years, my family taught me that being a good son meant absorbing consequences created by other people. They called me dependable when they needed money. They called me successful when they wanted access to my credit. They called me selfish the moment I protected either one. I once believed that boundaries meant abandoning my family. Now I understand that they were asking me to abandon myself. The Mercedes being taken away was not my victory. Watching my parents face questions from lenders was not my victory either. My victory was entering my own home knowing every signature was mine. Every payment was my choice, and nobody could attach another life to my name. Family can ask for help. Family can make mistakes. Family can even disappoint you and still deserve a conversation. The moment someone decides that consent is optional because of a shared last name, help becomes exploitation. Refusing to finance that exploitation does not make anyone selfish.